And he couldn't cope with the criticism because in his view, he is a target. And so he became hypersensitive and blamed the media for the crashes of his relationship.
So I choose people who don't want to be written about on the whole, whose lives are shrouded in mystery, and they want to hide their secrets. And I just love digging away to find out what they don't want us to know.
Lights, camera, chaos. Tonight, the royal rumor mill is in overdrive again. Social feeds are exploding with claims that biographer Tom Bower exposed so-called secret recordings tied to Harry and Meghan. Clips and thumbnails are everywhere. The kind that make you pause mid-scroll. Hidden tapes, royal meltdown, truth revealed. And yet, where are the mainstream confirmations? Exactly. This is where the story gets messy, because the louder the rumor, the quieter the receipts. So here's what really matters: what's being alleged online, how the palace world might respond, and where Harry and Meghan's brand actually stands today, contracts, cash flow, and credibility. Because even if these tapes never see daylight, the narrative damage, that can be very, very real.
See how the Queen, who was described by Harry as vicious in his book, and Kate and William, who were unbelievably traduced both in the book and in the Oprah Winfrey interviews and by Harry in the Apple interviews, can forgive him. I mean, he'd have to eat so much humble pie.
The story and the speculation and the questioning about the origin of both children.
The thing is that both of them, having posed as the victim for so long, are really the aggressors.
It's the perfect storm of reputation, revenue, and revenge, and it's playing out in public. Before we dive in, if you love deep dive breakdowns, on-screen receipts, and no-nonsense commentary, smash like, hit subscribe, and drop a comment. Do you think the tapes chatter is a nothing burger or the beginning of a bigger crisis? I'm reading every take, and I'll shout out the sharpest ones next video.
So when Meghan came along into the scene, I just thought, this is fascinating. How is this going to play out? To tell the truth, I spoke to very few friends of Meghan because she put a fatwa on anyone talking to me who she could. So I sent off dozens and dozens of emails to her friends, and most of them didn't even reply. And obviously I spoke to her father, who loves her still very much, and said, you know, in the end, whatever she is, she's still my daughter.
And then they had their little children, and the feral children, and they left them with the chickens, and all she does now with her jams that are crap is post pictures of her children.
Let's set the scene. Viral accounts are pushing videos that frame Tom Bower as the man with the match, and Harry as the fused, breathless captions, dramatic music, and lots of sources say. In several clips, creators claim there's audio where Harry vents about palace control and Meghan strategizes media moves. It's the perfect click cocktail: private voices, public fallout, and a family that hates leaks. But notice what's missing. A reputable outlet saying, "We've heard the tapes, here's what's on them." Online, the rumor spreads anyway because the idea of raw audio feels irresistible after years of carefully curated interviews. If you cover celebrity PR, you know this play. Suggest a secret recording.
That she was hunting for someone of wealth, of notoriety in Great Britain, and she landed, you know, the biggest you could land.
A role, and has got really nobody on whom he could rely, which is in the end where Meghan stepped in.
The speculation and the questioning about the origin of both children.
Let speculation go viral, and the couple's silence becomes its own headline. That's why the chatter trends. Big promises, zero proof, maximum drama. So who is Tom Bower in this drama, and why does his name supercharge the algorithm? He's a veteran biographer known for sharp-edged takes on the royals, someone who generates headlines simply by speaking. When he published Revenge in 2022, it wasn't shy about its mission or its sources. Which means anytime his name gets attached to a new reveal, the internet treats it like breaking news, even if the evidence isn't public. That's the power of brand. Bower's brand is flinty skepticism. Harry and Meghan's brand is curated vulnerability. The collision is always combustible. But pause. Connecting his past critiques to today's
To make $50,000, you need to have millions of dollars. She hasn't got the money for it. And what's interesting is that there isn't a CEO, there's no chief executive of the As Ever brand to actually develop her products. So there she is with all these ideas, but in the end, it all boils down to herself as the brand.
secret tapes claims, doesn't make those clips real. It just explains why the rumor spreads so easily. Audiences remember the earlier fireworks and assume a sequel. Context matters. Bauer's interviews have long painted the couple as media-savvy and combative, which primes viewers to believe any fresh allegation sounds in character, whether or not it's verified. Let's talk reaction because perception moves faster than proof. On one side, you've got anti-Sussex timelines spiking with told you so threads. On the other, defenders calling the chatter a smear campaign aimed at derailing a comeback arc. Here's the uncomfortable truth. In celebrity PR, rumors don't need to be true to be effective. They just need to be sticky. And unfiltered audio is incredibly sticky.
At least that was his impression. And she's mixed race. She could elevate his star as well. It worked both ways.
The very existence of this is damaging to the royal family.
For fame and a lust for perpetual glory, but they're very ambitious to be very successful and earn more and more. And the only way they can do that is by dominating the media and manipulating the media.
It rewrites how viewers interpret past interviews, reframes the Netflix doc as carefully scripted, and recasts silence as strategy. Even without receipts, brands scramble behind the scenes whenever the words secret tapes trend because partners don't like uncertainty. That's why the couple's current media deals matter here. If your revenue is content-driven, you must manage volatility. And the more a rumor suggests what they really think, the more the audience starts to question every polished scene that comes next. That's the reputational risk. Even debunked, the idea lingers, and future projects get judged through that lens. Now, receipts you can screenshot. The Spotify saga. After a much publicized split in 2023, a top Spotify executive publicly blasted the Sussex operation as grifters. That word ricocheted across headlines and became a shorthand narrative, harsh, viral, and devastating to brand trust. You don't have to agree with him to understand how damaging that single label can be for talent trying to sell authenticity. In the YouTube era, one sticky quote can outtrend 100 press releases, and this was the quote.
Contacts. That's why she had no one at her wedding who she knew from before she started in suit. Every single one of her childhood friends, her school friends had all been ditched.
For critics, it fed the storyline of overpromise, underdeliver. For fans, it was industry pettiness. But either way, future partners read the same headlines we do. Cut to Netflix, the make or break relationship. For months, speculation swirled that the streamer would walk. Then, a twist. Multiple outlets reported a fresh, multi-year arrangement apparently leaner than the earlier mega deal, but still real. Translation: Netflix hasn't slammed the door. They've recalibrated expectations. That's good news if you're Team Sussex, but it comes with pressure. Deliver watchable projects that sustain interest beyond one splashy doc. Viewers don't care about contracts, they care about content. If the next slate performs, narrative swings back their way. If not, critics will say Netflix hedged, not bet. In a rumor storm, a live deal is a lifeline proof that major platforms still see commercial upside. But the bar is higher now, and every PR wobble makes the hill steeper. Zoom out to the nonprofit picture because it shapes the tone around the couple's credibility. In late 2023, filings showed a steep year-over-year donations drop at Archewell Catnip for detractors who already doubted the operation's stability. Then came May 2024's delinquent notice in California over paperwork and fees, a technical mess quickly resolved but loudly amplified online. The damage was narrative, not legal. The words delinquent and charity in the same headline are brutal optics. For supporters, 2023-2024's updates showed donations rebounding and grants flowing. For critics, the dip confirmed brand fatigue. Both can be true. Nonprofits can stumble on admin and recover financially. The internet rarely grants that nuance. So where do the secret tapes rumors intersect with business reality? Perception compounds. If audiences believe there's unflattering, raw audio, even unverified, it can depress enthusiasm for new shows, slow ad interest, and spook cautious partners. Conversely, a hit series can steamroll a rumor cycle by giving fans something else to talk about. Meghan's lifestyle content and Harry-led docs have a tightrope to walk. They must feel authentic without triggering the too-polished critique, and they must be entertaining without inviting claims of opportunism. The safest lane is human-first storytelling, clean format, clear stakes, fewer sweeping royal score-settling monologues. That's how you rebuild. Episode by episode, deliver value that's hard to argue with. The newly reported Netflix arrangement suggests the door to that redemption arc is still open, just narrower. Let's talk palace dynamics carefully. Mainstream reporting has documented long-running strain between Harry and senior royals, especially post-Spare and the Oprah interview. That's history, not rumor. But the idea that tapes could blow up any delicate back channel, that's speculation, and without credible audio, it stays that way. Could a reconciliation be harder if the internet believes there's damning private chatter? Absolutely, because families read headlines too. But royal institutions are patient. Silence is their superpower. If anything, the palace's likely move in a rumor storm is strategic non-reaction. The risk for Harry and Meghan is asymmetrical. They live in the content economy, so their brand takes the immediate hit when whispers go viral. The crown can simply wait. For viewers, that's the tension. Will the couple choose a lower volume, slow and steady rebuild, or double down with louder self-authored narratives that invite more blowback? Brand lesson time, the part most fans overlook. Consistency wins. Audience trust doesn't require perfection, it requires coherence. Gwyneth equals goop, Martha equals home mastery. The critique around Meghan's pivots, serious sit-downs, 1 minute, cozy kitchen vibes the next, has always been that whiplash undermines the pitch. The fix isn't grand, it's granular. Define the 3 emotions your content should always deliver: comfort, competence, curiosity, and refuse projects that don't fit. For Harry, the same applies. What's his on-screen promise beyond being the prince who left? If that's resilience, or sport for healing, or veteran advocacy, then every future series should feel like a chapter in that book. Rumor cycles are loud but short. Brands built on clear value outlast them. That's the playbook, unsexy but proven. And in this economy, a clean, credible lane is more lucrative than a messy, attention-hacking one. Final word and a challenge for you. The secret tapes rumor is trending because it's cinematic. But the receipts that truly matter are public. A bruising Spotify exit, a recalibrated but still standing Netflix pact, a charity that stumbled on paperwork, then recovered, and a fan base split between fatigue and curiosity. If you're Team Sussex, the path forward is simple but hard. Deliver one undeniably good series, then another. If you're a skeptic, demand receipts before you share the next breathless tape thumbnail. Either way, the next 90 days are critical. Content lands, metrics leak, and the internet decides again. I'll be tracking every beat, so tell me below, if you could greenlight one Sussex project that would win you back, what would it be and why? But here's where things take a more human turn behind the headlines. The photo ops and the brand talk, there's still the reality of 2 people who've tied their identity to public storytelling. For Harry, the shadow of his mother's media battles looms large. Every flare-up with the press is tangled with the fear of history repeating itself. For Meghan, the leap from television actress to royal figure to global brand has meant constant recalibration under relentless scrutiny. It's easy to forget that outside the lens, this level of exposure chips away at your private life in ways most people can't imagine. Friends, what few remain close, report that conversations now circle back to whether they can ever have normal days again. Even in Montecito, the bubble isn't airtight. Paparazzi still hover, drones still fly, and every public sighting sparks an avalanche of online commentary. There's also the ripple effect: neighbors complaining about unwanted attention, staff turnover because of the pressure, and the constant hum of security concerns. That's the paradox they live in. To make money, they need to be seen. To find peace, they need to disappear. And right now, both feel equally impossible. Sources close to Hollywood circles whisper that the couple is already being far more selective about public appearances, avoiding crowded industry events in favor of tightly controlled moments where they can dictate the narrative. But pulling back comes with its own risk. Out of sight can quickly become out of mind in a market where public relevance is currency. They're walking a razor's edge, and one misstep could tilt them toward complete invisibility or complete overexposure. And then there's the wild card nobody's talking about: time. Public attention is fickle. Today's scandal is tomorrow's throwback thread. If Harry and Meghan can ride out the current noise without overplaying their hand, they could quietly re-enter with projects that remind people why they cared in the first place. But that takes discipline, a willingness to let some jabs go unanswered, to plant seeds instead of grabbing quick headlines. The couples who survive long careers in the spotlight learn to master the slow burn, not the viral spike. Think of the biggest comebacks in pop culture. They rarely happen in the heat of a scandal. They happen after the dust settles, when the audience is ready to be surprised. The challenge is that their burn rate financially and reputationally isn't built for long silences. Without fresh content, without public wins, the narrative hardens into whatever their critics write for them. That's why insiders say there's quiet debate in their camp right now about pivoting, scrapping risky projects in favor of safe, goodwill-building appearances that can slowly thaw the public mood. It's not glamorous, and it's not instant, but in a media climate this hostile, slow and steady might be the only way to keep the brand alive until the storm finally passes. The next move could define the rest of their public lives, and there's no guarantee they'll get a second shot.